My name is Ryan Carter, and I'd never considered myself the type of guy to get caught up in revenge. But when someone you love shatters your heart into a million pieces and then flaunts their new happiness like you never mattered, something inside you changes. You either crumble under the weight of the pain, or you find a way to rise above it. In my case, I chose to rise, but not before making sure my ex, Amanda, felt the sting of her own choices. Amanda and I had been together for nearly 3 years. She was my best friend, my partner, the person I imagined standing beside me through every milestone in life. I wasn't some hopeless romantic who believed in fairy tales, but damn, I thought we were solid. I thought we had a future. That's why, when she sat me down one evening in our favorite cafe and told me, with a pitying look, that she'd fallen out of love, I felt like the ground had been yanked from under me. "I just don't think we're right for each other anymore," she said, stirring her iced latte with deliberate slowness. I stared at her, my own coffee growing cold between my hands. "Since when?" My voice was steadier than I expected, but my pulse was a hammer against my ribs. She sighed, her perfectly manicured fingers tightening around her straw. "For a while. I didn't know how to say it." I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. If she had ended it there, maybe I could have walked away with some dignity. Maybe I would have convinced myself that these things just happen. People fall out of love, right? But then she delivered the second blow. "There's someone else." That was the moment I felt the first crack in my chest. I blinked at her, trying to process her words. Someone else. She wouldn't meet my eyes. It wasn't planned. It just happened. I scoffed. It just happened. My voice was sharp now, my fingers tightening around my cup so hard I thought it might shatter. "How long?" She hesitated. That was answer enough. "Amanda." 2 months, she admitted, barely above a whisper. 2 months. I let out a breath, leaning back in my seat as if I'd been physically hit. I wanted to scream, wanted to demand why she had strung me along, pretending everything was fine when she'd already moved on. But what would that accomplish? The damage was done. She had made her choice, and I was just the idiot who hadn't seen it coming. I left that cafe with a hollow ache in my chest, the sound of her voice replaying in my head like a broken record. For the first week, I did what any heartbroken fool does. I wallowed. I ignored texts, ignored calls from friends who wanted to check in. I buried myself in work, hoping that if I kept busy enough, I wouldn't have to think about the fact that the woman I loved had replaced me like an outdated model. Then came the pictures. She didn't waste any time flaunting her new relationship. My social media feeds were suddenly filled with smiling photos of her and the guy. Some flashy-looking finance bro with a perfect jawline and a wardrobe that screamed overpriced designer brands. They went to fancy restaurants, took weekend trips, even posted cringe-worthy couple captions that made my stomach turn. I wasn't just heartbroken anymore. I was angry, and that was when the idea hit me. If Amanda wanted to act like I never mattered, like she was living her best life without me, then fine. I'd show her I could do the same. But I wouldn't just move on. I'd make sure she saw it every single day. And so, my plan for revenge began. The idea came to me in a moment of pure, unfiltered spite. I was lying in bed, staring at my phone, rereading Amanda's latest Instagram post. Her and her new guy, all smiles, cocktails in hand, captioned, "When you know, you know." It was like a slap to the face. 2 months ago, I was the one sitting across from her at some trendy bar, thinking she was my forever. Now, I was nothing more than a ghost in her past. I should have put my phone down. I should have turned off social media, deleted her posts from my feed, and focused on healing. But I didn't. I scrolled. I examined every new picture, every gushing comment from her friends, every emoji-laden response she gave to people congratulating her on finally finding happiness. Finally, as if the last 3 years with me had been some kind of prison sentence. As if she hadn't spent the better part of our relationship telling me how lucky she was to have me, how she saw a future with me, how I was the one. The more I thought about it, the more it burned. That's when it hit me. If she wanted to act like she was thriving without me, I'd do the same. No, I'd do better. I wasn't going to just post a couple of vague, moving on pictures. I was going to make her feel it. She was going to see me every single day, looking like I was living the dream, looking like I had upgraded. And she was going to wonder if she'd made the biggest mistake of her life. There was only one problem. I didn't have a new girlfriend. Hell, I hadn't even thought about dating since Amanda ripped my heart out. I needed a plan. And fast. The next morning, I walked into work feeling more determined than I had in weeks. I wasn't just going to pretend to move on. I was going to make it look effortless. And I needed someone who could pull it off with me. Someone charming, confident, and photogenic enough to make Amanda's stomach twist every time she saw us together. That's when I thought of Chloe. Chloe was a co-worker of mine, one of those people who seemed to glide through life with a permanent smirk and an unshakable sense of confidence. She was sharp, quick-witted, and most importantly, had a mischievous streak a mile wide. We weren't exactly close, but we'd had our fair share of sarcastic office banter and occasional lunch breaks together. Most importantly, I knew Chloe wasn't the type to take things too seriously. She'd probably find this entire situation hilarious. So, during our mid-morning coffee break, I made my move. I found her in the break room, leaning against the counter, scrolling through her phone while absent-mindedly stirring a cup of coffee. She looked up as I walked in, raising an eyebrow. "Ryan," she said, smirking, "you look like a man with a scheme." Damn, she was already onto me. I leaned against the counter beside her, taking a sip of my own coffee. "That's because I am." She tilted her head, intrigued. "Oh, this should be good." I took a deep breath. "All right, I have a weird favor to ask. And before you say no, just hear me out." Her grin widened. Now I'm interested. I explained everything. How Amanda had left me for some flashy finance bro. How she was flaunting it all over social media, like I'd never even existed. And how I wanted to turn the tables by making her think I was not just moving on, but thriving without her. Chloe listened intently, her lips twitching like she was trying to hold back laughter. When I finished, she set her coffee down and folded her arms. "So let me get this straight," she said slowly. "You want me to pretend to be your new girlfriend, take a bunch of staged couple wife photos with you, and make sure your ex sees every single one?" I nodded. "Exactly." Chloe let out a low whistle. "Damn, that is some petty energy. I respect it." I held up my hands. "Look, I know it's ridiculous, but it's just for a month. No weird expectations, no actual dating. Just some pictures, maybe a couple of accidental run-ins if she happens to be at the same place. You get to have some fun messing with someone who totally deserves it, and I'll owe you big time." She tapped a finger against her lips, pretending to consider. "So basically, I get to play dress up, look amazing in pictures, and watch some chick lose her mind over it?" I chuckled. "Pretty much." A slow grin spread across her face. "You know what? Screw it. I'm in." I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. "Really?" She laughed. "Hell yeah. This is the most fun I've been offered all week." She nudged me playfully. "Besides, I always did wonder what it would be like to be in a fake relationship. Let's make your ex regret every decision she's ever made." And just like that, the game was on. I had my accomplice. Now, it was time to put the plan into action. With Chloe on board, the real work began. If I wanted Amanda to feel my happiness, I couldn't just post random, half-assed pictures. This had to be strategic. Every shot, every caption, every detail had to be curated to make it seem like my life had never been better without her. I needed to sell the dream, the perfect new relationship, the upgrade she never saw coming. The first challenge? Figuring out how to make it look convincing. Sure, Chloe was naturally photogenic, but this wasn't just about her looking good. It was about chemistry. If we were stiff or awkward in our photos, Amanda would see right through it. And while Chloe and I got along well, we weren't exactly the hand-holding, couple selfie-taking type. So we needed a test run. We decided to meet up on a Saturday, neutral ground, away from work, where we could figure out how to look like a couple. I picked a cafe downtown, one of those trendy spots with exposed brick walls, overpriced lattes, and the kind of artsy ambience that screamed Instagram-worthy. When Chloe walked in, dressed in a casual yet effortlessly stylish outfit, a fitted black top, high-waisted jeans, and white sneakers, I realized just how convincing this was going to be. She looked like the kind of girl who belonged in soft launch boyfriend posts. The kind of girl who made it easy for an ex to spiral. "All right," she said, sliding into the seat across from me with a grin. "Let's get to work. Show me what we're working with." I pulled out my phone, opening Instagram. So, my ex and I posted a lot of pictures together when we were dating. We had couple selfies, date night posts, vacation highlights. It was a whole thing. Chloe whistled. "Damn, you guys were one of those couples." I grimaced. "Unfortunately." She scrolled through a few old posts, nodding thoughtfully. "Okay, so she's used to seeing you in a happy, relationship-wide context. That means we can't just throw up a random selfie and call it a day. It needs to look natural, like we've been dating for a while." I nodded. "Exactly. And it has to be casual. If it looks too forced, she'll know something's up." Chloe leaned back, tapping her chin. "So what's the first move?" I hesitated, then smirked. A classic. The first glimpse of the new girl shot. We set up the shot carefully. Chloe sat across from me, coffee cup in hand. Her face turned slightly away from the camera, just enough to show her profile, but not enough to give away too much. The key was mystery. Let Amanda wonder who she was. Let her stalk and zoom in and drive herself insane. I snapped the photo, edited it just enough to give it that effortlessly cool vibe, and uploaded it to my story with a simple caption. "Morning coffee with my favorite person hot beverage." Then we waited. It didn't take long. Within minutes, Amanda had viewed my story. Within hours, 2 of her best friends had too. And by the end of the day, I saw something that made me nearly laugh out loud. Amanda had unliked one of my old posts. That might not sound like a big deal, but trust me, it was. Unliking an old picture was a classic move. It meant she had been scrolling through my profile, probably comparing my new posts to our old ones. Chloe noticed my smirk. "What?" I turned my phone toward her, showing her Amanda's activity. She saw it. Chloe's grin was almost wicked. And I leaned back in my chair, feeling the first spark of victory. I think she cares more than she wants to admit. Now that the seed was planted, it was time to water it. The next day, Chloe and I met up again, this time for something more direct. A full post, not just a story. Something that would sit on my feed permanently. We decided on a classic couple's pose. A playful shot of Chloe leaning into me, laughing at something while I looked down at her with an amused smile. The trick was authenticity. I told her a dumb joke right before the shot, and her laughter was real. It made all the difference. Caption: "Unexpected connections are always the best." The moment I hit post, it was game over. Within an hour, the likes rolled in. Friends, co-workers, old acquaintances, everyone was eating it up. But the real victory? Amanda saw it, and she didn't like it. She always liked my post before, even after the breakup, even when she was with her new guy. She had kept that casual, no hard feelings attitude. But now, silence. That silence was loud. Chloe leaned over my phone, scrolling through the comments. "Damn, people really believe this, huh?" I smirked. It's almost too easy. Then, as if on cue, my phone vibrated. A message. From Amanda. Chloe's eyes widened. "Oh shit." I opened it, my heart pounding. Wow, that was fast. No greeting. No pretense. Just that. I looked up at Chloe, my grin widening. She's cracking. Chloe laughed. "Good, because we're just getting started." And she was right. This was only the beginning. Amanda's message sat on my screen, glowing like a beacon of her unraveling composure. Wow, that was fast. Just 4 words, but they carried the weight of everything I wanted. She wasn't unaffected. She wasn't indifferent. She wasn't the carefree, moved-on person she pretended to be. She cared, and that meant I wasn't just some footnote in her past. I was still a part of her thoughts, still lingering in the corners of her mind where she didn't want me to be. Chloe, sitting next to me on the cafe bench where we'd just taken our latest staged but flawless photo, nudged my arm. "Well," she asked, eyeing the phone, "you gonna reply?" I smirked. "Not right away." Chloe let out a knowing chuckle. Smart man. We went back to our coffee, and I forced myself to not check my phone every 5 seconds. I wanted Amanda to stew in it, to overanalyze, to wonder why I wasn't responding. It took everything in me to wait. But finally, 3 hours later, I replied. Life moves fast, doesn't it? Short, simple, dismissive. I didn't ask how she was. I didn't invite conversation. I didn't even throw in an emoji to soften it. Just a neutral, casual statement that told her I wasn't dwelling on her anymore. And then, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and went to meet Chloe for phase 2. The next step wasn't just to show Amanda I had moved on. It was to make her wonder if she'd been replaced, if I had found something better. And for that, we needed chemistry. Chloe and I planned our next photo carefully. This time, it wouldn't just be another posed picture. It had to feel intimate. The kind of shot that made people pause. That made Amanda imagine things. So, we went for the candid couple moment. We set up the shot in a park, a quiet, secluded area with golden afternoon light. I sat on the grass, leaning back on my hands, while Chloe sat between my legs, facing away, leaning comfortably against my chest. My arm rested lazily around her waist, her head tilted slightly, like she belonged there. The picture? Effortless. The caption? Some people just feel like home. Post. And then we waited. That night, my phone blew up. My DMs flooded. Friends, co-workers, even old acquaintances I hadn't spoken to in years, all reacting. Comments under the picture ranged from "Damn Ryan," "Power move," to "Okay, but who is she?" But Amanda? Nothing. Not a like. Not a comment. Not a message. She was silent. And that silence was loud. I smirked, setting my phone down. She saw it. Chloe raised an eyebrow. How do you know? She didn't like it. Chloe grinned. Damn, that's worse than saying something. And she was right. Amanda was holding back, probably seething, refusing to react because she didn't want to give me the satisfaction. But I wasn't done yet, because the next morning, I got exactly what I wanted. Amanda's name flashed on my phone screen. She was calling. I turned to Chloe, holding up my phone with a triumphant smirk. And there it is. Chloe laughed. You gonna answer? I let it ring a little longer, just enough to let Amanda wonder. Then, finally, I picked up. Hello, I said, keeping my tone calm, collected, unbothered. A pause. A small inhale on the other end. Then, so who's the girl? Gotcha. Hearing Amanda's voice again after weeks of silence sent an unexpected jolt through me. It wasn't longing, not even nostalgia, just a rush of satisfaction. She had called me. She had broken first. I could almost picture her, probably pacing her apartment, chewing on her lip, phone clutched tightly in her hand as she debated whether dialing my number was the right move. And yet, here she was. I leaned back against my couch, keeping my voice as casual as possible. Who's the girl? I repeated, as if I hadn't already crafted this moment in my head 100 times. Amanda hesitated, like she hadn't expected me to call her out so directly. Yeah, she finally said. The one in your pictures. I smirked. Why do you care? Silence. It stretched between us, thick and charged. I could tell she was trying to come up with a casual, dismissive answer, but there wasn't one. Not one that would make her seem unaffected. Finally, she let out a small scoff. I don't care, Ryan. I just think it's surprising. I mean, you barely dated anyone before me. And now suddenly, what? You've got this new amazing relationship, just weeks after we broke up. She was fishing, looking for cracks, hoping I'd slip up and admit something that would make her feel better. Maybe that I was struggling, that it wasn't real, that I still missed her. Too bad for her. I wasn't giving her what she wanted. Life moves fast, I said, repeating my last text to her, my tone light. You know how it is. Amanda exhaled sharply, like my indifference was physically pissing her off. Right, she muttered. Well, good for you then. She was trying to end the conversation, trying to convince herself she had gotten what she needed, that she was totally fine with it. But I could hear it in her voice. She wasn't, and I wasn't about to let her walk away that easily. So I delivered the final blow. She's great, you know, I said, my voice filled with just the right amount of warmth. One of the most genuine people I've ever met. That word. Genuine. I heard Amanda's breath catch. I didn't say it outright, but the implication was there. Unlike you. A beat of silence. Then, right, well, I have to go. Click. She hung up. I stared at my phone, watching the call screen fade. And then, I laughed. Chloe, who had been watching from across the room with an amused expression, raised an eyebrow. That good, huh? I grinned. She's losing it. That phone call changed everything. Amanda had been pushed off her pedestal. She had spent weeks believing I would be the one who was struggling, that I'd be the one lurking on her page, seeing all her pictures, with her perfect new boyfriend and falling apart. Instead, she was the one spiraling. And now, I had to finish the job. The ultimate post. It had to be big. Something that would push Amanda over the edge. Something undeniable. Chloe and I brainstormed for a while before landing on the perfect move. A weekend getaway. Now, obviously, we weren't actually taking a vacation together, but that didn't matter. All that mattered was the illusion. We picked a location, one of those cozy lakeside resorts just outside the city, a place Amanda and I had talked about visiting, but never actually did. I found a few pictures of the resort online. Then Chloe and I staged everything. A picture of our suitcases by the front door. A boomerang of our hands clinking wine glasses. A blurry, golden-lit photo of Chloe laughing from the passenger seat of my car. Then the piece de resistance, a mirror selfie in our hotel bathroom. I wore a towel around my waist, water droplets still visible on my skin like I had just stepped out of the shower. Chloe, wearing an oversized hoodie, stood behind me, phone in hand, face partially hidden by her hair, just visible enough to confirm she was there. The caption, nothing like a weekend away with the right person. And then, I hit post. It took less than 30 minutes for Amanda to react. This time, there was no subtlety. She called again. I let it ring. Then, she texted, Amanda, are you serious? Amanda, this is so f***ing disrespectful, Ryan asterisk. I smirked. Disrespectful? The irony. I waited a full hour before responding. Me, not sure what you mean. She didn't text back immediately. But when she did, it was exactly what I had been waiting for. Amanda, we just broke up, and now you're taking some random girl on trips? I stared at the message, feeling the pure satisfaction settle in my chest. I had her. Fully. She wasn't just annoyed. She wasn't just curious. She was jealous. I thought about how to answer, then settled on something simple. Me, I thought you didn't care. A minute passed. Then another. The typing bubble appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then finally, Amanda, I don't. I laughed out loud. Chloe, reading over my shoulder, snorted. She so cares. And she was right. Amanda wasn't over me. Not even close. And now, she knew she had lost me for good. After Amanda's last text, I knew she was lying. I could feel it in every word she sent. The hesitation. The frustration. The way she kept reaching out despite pretending she didn't care. But she wasn't done yet. She couldn't be. And I was about to push her past the edge. Chloe and I had perfected our routine by now. We weren't just posting random couple shots anymore. We were telling a story. A relationship that looked natural, effortless, and most importantly, better than what I had with Amanda. So we stepped it up. More inside jokes in the captions. More flirty comments under each other's posts. More little things that made it feel real. And then, the final phase, friend involvement. I made sure my close friends, the ones Amanda still followed, started tagging me and Chloe in casual posts. A group dinner. A trivia night. A lazy Sunday brunch. The message was clear. Chloe wasn't just some girl I was dating. She was becoming part of my world. And that's what broke Amanda. It started small. At first, Amanda tried to keep it together. She didn't comment, didn't like, didn't interact. But then, she started posting more. Suddenly, her page was flooded with her and Mr. Perfect, smiling, laughing, traveling, as if she were trying to prove something. It was almost too obvious. I didn't react. Then came the not-so-subtle digs. One night, I was scrolling through my feed when I saw her latest post. A picture of her and her new guy at a bar, her hand on his chest. The caption, "Upgrading is always worth it." I actually laughed. Out loud. She wasn't even trying to be subtle anymore. But I didn't engage. I didn't comment. Didn't like. Didn't acknowledge it. And that's what drove her insane. It happened at 3 a.m. My phone buzzed, dragging me out of sleep. At first, I thought it was an emergency. Then I saw the name. Amanda. I blinked, staring at the screen. She was calling. I let it ring out. A second later, a text popped up. "Amanda, Ryan, can we talk?" I didn't respond. Another call. Then another text. "Amanda, please, just answer for a second." I smirked. Now she wanted to talk. I turned off my phone and went back to sleep. The next morning, when I finally checked, she had sent 5 more texts. "Amanda, I just need to know something. Amanda, is this real? Amanda, do you actually like her? Or are you just doing this to get back at me?" I took my time, ate breakfast, hit the gym, went to work. Then, finally, hours later, I replied, "Me, not sure why you're asking." She responded in seconds. "Amanda, Ryan, come on. Amanda, I don't know. It's weird seeing you with someone else." Ah, there it was. The real reason behind everything. It wasn't about me moving on too fast. It wasn't about Chloe. It was about the fact that she hadn't expected to lose control over me. She had expected me to be broken, to be waiting. Instead, I had won. So, I sent the final message. "Me, I think we both know this conversation shouldn't be happening." No warmth. No anger. No anything. Just a clear message. I was done with her. She didn't reply. After that night, Amanda stopped reaching out. She still posted her happy relationship pictures, still pretended everything was perfect, but I knew the truth. Because a few weeks later, I got a text from one of our mutual friends. "Friend, dude, Amanda and finance bro just broke up." I stared at the message, letting it sink in. Then another text followed. "Friend, apparently, she's been kinda off lately. Obsessed with what you're doing. It was causing fights." I laughed. Of course it was. She had gotten exactly what she deserved. And I had moved on. And for the first time in a long time, it felt damn good. Amanda was finally out of my life. Or at least, as out as she was ever going to be. She had lost. And I had won. But as satisfying as it was to watch her crumble under the weight of her own choices, I couldn't ignore the nagging thought that had started creeping in over the last few days. Where did I go from here? For weeks, my life had revolved around her. Even if I wasn't with her anymore, even if I wasn't in love with her anymore, everything I had done, the posts, the fake relationship, the strategy, had all been about getting back at Amanda. And now she was gone. She wasn't texting me anymore. She wasn't trying to bait me with her own posts. She wasn't making pathetic attempts to drag me back into her orbit. She was just silent. And I realized something. I didn't know what to do next. A few days after hearing about Amanda's breakup, Chloe and I met up for dinner. This time, there were no staged pictures, no fake couple shots. Just 2 people sitting across from each other in a dimly lit restaurant, sharing a meal. Chloe leaned back in her chair, stirring her cocktail with a straw. "So, your evil master plan was a success." I smirked. "It was." She raised an eyebrow. "And now what?" I hesitated, caught off guard by the question. She must have noticed, because she laughed. "Come on, Ryan. You put all this effort into screwing with Amanda's head, but you never thought about what happens after." I took a sip of my beer, buying myself a few seconds. "I don't know. I guess I just figured I'd feel better." Chloe tilted her head, watching me. "And, do you?" I thought about it. I had been so obsessed with proving a point, with making Amanda regret everything she had done, that I hadn't actually stopped to consider if it had made me happy. Sure, it had been satisfying. But real happiness, that was something else entirely. I exhaled, setting my drink down. I don't really care about Amanda anymore. And that's what actually feels good. Chloe smiled, raising her glass. "Then I'd say that is the real win." I clinked my bottle against hers, and for the first time in a long time, I felt free. Just when I thought it was over, Amanda reappeared. Not directly. Not in my texts or my DMs. But I heard from mutual friends that she had started talking about me again. She keeps bringing you up, one of my friends told me. Like in a weird way. What do you mean? I asked. She keeps saying how crazy it is that you got with someone so fast. How it's kinda suspicious. I rolled my eyes. Of course. Of course she couldn't just let it go. She wasn't angry anymore, at least, not outwardly. But she was desperate to justify everything to herself. If she convinced herself that my relationship was fake, then it meant she hadn't actually lost me. She needed to believe that I had done all of this just to get under her skin, that I was still somehow stuck on her. But the truth? I wasn't, and she couldn't stand it. That was the last time I let Amanda live in my head. I stopped checking her page, stopped caring about what she was doing. And as for Chloe and me, we had a conversation about where we stood. What do you want to do? I asked her one night, sitting on my couch, flipping through channels. She stretched, tucking her feet under her. I think we had fun, she said. But let's be real. This whole thing was never really about us. I nodded. Yeah, I think you're right. She smiled. But hey, at least I got some cute Instagram pictures out of it. I laughed. Same. And just like that, it was over. Not just my fake relationship. Not just my revenge plan. But everything that had tied me to Amanda. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't thinking about my ex. I wasn't trying to prove anything. I wasn't looking back. I was just moving forward. And damn, did it feel good.